Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jonathan Lackritz, and I'm a manager at the California Public Utilities Commission. We will begin our webinar in about 3 to 5 minutes to give time for a few more folks to join. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jonathan Lackritz, and I'm a program manager at the California Public Utilities Commission. I'd like to welcome you all to the latest webinar in our series on the BEAD program in California. Today, our topic will be technical requirements for BEAD program applicants and prospective applicants, with a focus on what will be required for the BEAD application. Next slide, please. So our agenda for today is providing some background on the BEAD program, talking about project-specific certifications, project plan requirements, certification from professional engineer, and then some next steps, including future webinars. Next slide, please. Just to go over a few housekeeping things for those of you who have not joined one of our webinars in the past. Please keep an eye on the chat because we will use it to send useful links to you. If you have questions, please put them in the question and answer tab or email them to beadgrant, beadgrant @cpuc.ca.gov. We will not be answering questions during the webinar, but we will be building our FAQ to address frequently asked questions and posting that soon. For those of you who desire closed captions, English closed captions are available. Select the show captions on your toolbar. Also, You may find it useful to select the side-by-side speaker mode for best viewing experience when the slides are shared. Now I will turn it over to Ziggy Rifkin-Fish from CTC Technology and Energy, our partner in the BEAD planning process. He will present the content portion of today's webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here. Why don't we just dive right into it? So for those of you who don't know, for the BEAD program and its background, NTIA, National Telecommunications and Information Administration, released the Notice of Funding Opportunity, where it outlined the requirements for CPUC's implementation of the BEAD program. And the NOFO contains specific technical requirements with respect to qualifications, the applications, and proposed project design. All these elements were incorporated into the Commission's decision. The BEAD Initial Proposal Volume 2, and these are available on CPU's website, and the BEAD grant application design as well. Okay, next slide. So for the application requirements, 3 major elements. Applicants must submit a network design, and network diagram, project costs, build out timeline, milestones for implementation, as well as a capital investment schedule. And then secondly, these items must be certified by a professional engineer, stating that the proposed network can deliver the broadband service that meet the performance requirements for all locations served by the project. There's a minimum requirement for all BEAD, and then there may be also commitments as part of the scoring that the applicant makes, and the network design that the applicant makes to the project that it's proposing. And then finally, the CPUC will not approve of a grant unless it determines that the materials submitted demonstrate the applicant's technical capability with respect to the proposed project. At the bottom, you'll see some sources for this and other elements as we go over them. As this becomes available, we encourage you to take a look for yourself and dive into it. And next, all right, so for project-specific certifications, there are applicant-specific compliance and certification, then there are project-specific ones. So for project-specific certifications, you'll be asked to upload certifications, licenses, qualifications, anything unique in that sense to the proposed project. And you can also update materials and certifications in the pre-qualification regarding technical qualifications. So anything that shows what kind of qualifications you are going to bring to the project. You'll be asked to describe what processes you're going to use to track and maintain certifications and training programs and licenses. Hopefully you already have standard ways to do it. We're not asking you to invent new things, but to describe how you track those things, and if not, how you intend to do so. And then you must also list employment categories, job titles, and job descriptions necessary to complete the proposed project. Next slide. Additional technical certifications. There are specific program requirements. As I mentioned, the projects have to be capable of delivering 100 megabit per second for downloads and 20 megabit per second for upload speeds for your locations, and at or below 100 milliseconds latency. Um, and those are the minimal requirements for the project. At the time of project closeout, if you are proposing to connect community anchor institutions, they have to be capable of delivering gigabit symmetric speeds, and you will be asked to certify that these connections can be used to provide business data services. We are also requiring, as per the NOFO and IPv2, initial proposal in volume 2. Again, there are references in the slides sort of for where you can find more information, that you will obtain all necessary federal, state, and local government permits and required approvals for the proposed work to be completed. And you will be asked to certify that if you are laying fiber optic cables or conduit underground along the roadway, you will include interspersed conduit access points at regular or short intervals so they can be available for interconnection by others at whatever lease price you set. Next. Project plan. So you'll be asked to provide a project plan, and that will be used to demonstrate your technical capabilities. The elements of that includes the technical narrative, your network design, design drawing, the logical network design drawing, project cost, timeline with milestones, a capital investment schedule, otherwise known as a pro forma business case analysis. If you're delivering a fixed wireless or satellite technology, then there's parameters that are applicable to those kind of projects. There will be slightly different questions on the technical side for you to upload for these kind of projects. And then descriptions of geographical locations of the project, and finally the professional engineer certification. There has, if you had read an early version, if you read the NOFO and an early version of IPv2, you may have noticed that there was a requirement for professional engineer certification from the state. That has been expanded to include that can be a professional engineer certified by any state. The applicant should also provide templates for and going back to the pro forma business case, that will be used to demonstrate your financial sustainability of the project, and there's more on that later. But templates will be made available so that you can do this without having to reinvent the wheel. Technical narrative. You'll be asked to provide a description of the proposed project and how your proposed infrastructure will deliver service that meets the speed and latency and for the location, including the broadband serviceable locations that are eligible in your project area and that you commit to, as well as whatever CAIs you commit to, as and per the speeds that I mentioned earlier. And so the narrative would include detailed description of what kind of backhaul you're going to provide to ensure that connectivity and be able to meet those speed requirements. What's your projected subscriber take rate and any anticipated level of oversubscription? And that, of course, is connected to your specific technology and design, and the degree to which there's shared capacity. And then a discussion of network scalability, the ability of your proposed design to be able to meet future demands and increase speeds and higher subscription rates. And finally, a detailed description of the proposed network, and how it will be deployed using industry best practices. Next. So the next, network design, of course, it should include all your proposed BSLs and CAIs. And you'll be asked to provide it in GIS with the project area boundary polygons. We will provide the BSL and CA data that you'll be using, and incorporating into your GIS files. And you will be asked to in your shapefiles, you will be providing the specific routes that you are proposing, putting conduit, fiber, and then yes, just make sure that in some cases there are, of course, you may have a project area boundary that encompasses your BSLs and CAIs, but the actual route may go outside of that boundary, for example, with middle mile fiber. So that will be indicated on your shapefile. Okay, next. The logical network design. That should illustrate the logical connectivity and depict the desired architecture of the network, where you're going to have your core network equipment, for example, hardware redundancies, type of network platforms that will be utilized in different layers of the network. Any existing infrastructure you'll be using should be indicated as such on the diagram, so it's clear what it is that you are constructing and installing as new infrastructure, as opposed to what you'll be leveraging of your existing infrastructure. And there will be a sample drawing, so you can see what we're referring to, but chances are that this is this standard type of stuff that you use internally as well. So hopefully this should not come as a surprise to you. Next. Project costs. You'll be asked to provide the cost estimate, and it'll be asking for granularity to sufficient enough that we can get an understanding that this is reasonable and sustainable. The detailed itemization will be in categories that are available and pre-populated in templates. So, and the great advantage of doing it then in that way is that if when your project cost fits a particular category, you can be pretty assured that that is an eligible cost. So you don't get into, well, is this an eligible expense or not? Well, it fits into one of these subcategories of expenses, so it does. Next. And so the project cost template, um, you'll you'll be entering individual cost items, and you'll be completing specific fields. There'll be a cost description, the category it belongs to, if there are units, what kind of unit type are we talking about, feet, hours, etc. And then the quantity of that type, what's the cost per unit, um, if it's unit costs, and cost details and justification. The justification is required of cost details if you have to value them and there's no direct cost available for valuation. So, for example, there may be matching uh, costs that you're including or indirect costs for the match, and you need to assess the market value for that, and then you'll need to provide a justification for how you arrived at that. So that template will be available, so you can study it. And there will be more details on that in other webinars. And then finally, project timeline. That should demonstrate the applicant's ability to complete the project within the program timeline. As you know, the requirement is to complete it within 4 years. NTA has provided that for a option for the state to request an additional year if necessary, but applicants should assume a 4-year timeline. The key milestones for the project implementation would include your planning and engineering, your permitting and make ready, materials and equipment procurement phase, then when the network construction would enter into it, and then sort of milestones for subscriber activations, and finally your project closeout. This project timeline will be submitted in an Excel format, and again, a template will be made available. Next. So specific to a fixed wireless design, there are some additional design details that will be necessary if you opt to provide a fixed wireless proposal. And again, these are standard items, but there are components that will be asked, such as site radio frequency parameters, including site location information and sector information. Of course, the specific information and signal data that is projected for each particular BSL. And then there are the network radio frequency parameters, such as the physical equipment and the base station type and placements, and then information about customer premises equipment that will be used. And again, we'll have a fixed wireless design template available with the application materials. Next. If you are proposing a satellite design, there are some specific design details that come with that that will allow CPUC to assess your design and its suitability for meeting the program requirements. That template will be made available by CPUC with the application materials, and it'll include information about your network performance capabilities, what kind of customer premise equipment you will be providing, and the provisioning and capacity that you are going to deliver. Next. I mentioned the professional engineer certification. The engineer will certify and attest that they have reviewed all the elements of the proposed network design, and that it will meet the program requirements and any commitments that you have made in your application, including speed and deployment commitments, deployment timeline commitments. And there will be a template that will be provided that'll include the name of the professional engineer, the license number, which state that the that is providing it, and making sure that it has a clear status, and the expiration data. So we're certain that it hasn't lapsed and you're still your professional engineer is currently licensed, and of course the signature itself. Okay, next. Next. All right, I'll hand that back over.
Thank you, Ziggy, for the presentation. So I just want to highlight some upcoming webinars we have. Our next webinar will be Tuesday, January 21st, next Tuesday at 1 p.m. We'll be talking about bead matching funds. In addition, we will start the first of our office hours this Thursday from 1 to 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll be holding those every Thursday through February 27th. And with that, next slide, please. If you have any questions, please feel free to either bring them to the office hours or, more importantly, send them to beadgrant@cpuc.ca.gov. We've also posted into the webinar chat the link for upcoming webinars where you can go ahead and register for them, and then we'll receive any updates if there's changes to those webinars. I'd like to thank everyone for participating today, and we look forward to seeing you at our office hours and our next webinar. Thank you.